first thing we have on our agenda is a presentation about our wonderful Little Rock National Airport. I'd like to call on the chairman of the Airport Commission, Mr. Bob East. Mr. East, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and city board members, thank you for having me here. I'm Bob East, and thanks to this great city board, I am on the Airport Commission, and I'm chairman this year. And Ron Mathieu, our executive director, and I wanted to come talk to you and tell you what was going on at the airport. We've had a lot of changes in the past 2 years. How long have you been director? 2 years?
Just under 2 years.
2 years. And I think things are going in a great direction, so we wanted to make a fairly brief presentation about some of the things we've done, some of our finances, and some exciting things about the expansion plans. I'm going to turn the first part of this over to Ron.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, city directors, city manager. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come here. We'd like to do a presentation for you today in 2 phases. One, to talk about 2009 in review, and then we'd like to also focus on the Commission's vision for 2020. So one of the things that we'd like to do is point out some of the accomplishments that we've had in 2009 that set the foundation for what you will see in the second part of the presentation. First, the airport was under budget in terms of expenses by $2.2 million last year. We exceeded our revenue expectations by $1.2 million. So we exceeded our net revenue expectations by $3.4 million with a total of $7.3. That is $524,000 more than what we did in 2008, despite the fact that we had a 5% decrease in passenger traffic. In addition to that, we had a record year. We obtained just over $15 million in federal grants. Now, when you compare that to 2008, where we had just over $6 million, that's a 66% increase. So, I'm sorry, just over $9 million. That's a 66% increase over 2008. Again, it was a record grant year for us, which is important because what we do is we take those monies and we pour them right into the airport for construction. And part of our responsibility, as you know, is to have a positive economic impact in this community, and this certainly helped us to do that. One of the things that I know the city board has been looking at, and we are certainly looking at, is how can we be greener? And so the commission has authorized a $9 million project that will enable us to decrease our current energy consumption from $1.4 million a year in the terminal and in the parking lot to $768,000 a year. That's a $653,000 annual savings, and that's an annual guarantee. So if we do not achieve that savings, the company that we've selected, ESG, they are responsible for making up the difference and coming in and also correcting it to ensure that we get at least that $653,000 in savings. A little bit about air services. You know, last year was a very difficult year for the airline industry. There was some contraction, but despite that, we were fortunate enough to regain our Phoenix service with Southwest. We added 3 flights a day to Chicago with United. And we are currently working with U.S. Airways to add a direct flight from Little Rock to Reagan National, our nation's capital. We're still working on that. I'm hopeful we'll be successful at the end of the day. We moved one step closer to being Little Rock International Airport last year when we received our certification for our incinerator, international incinerator for trash. Now, that became very friendly to our tenants, specifically Dassault Falcon, Central, and Supermarine, because when the flights come in international on the GA side, they have to dispose of the trash within a very specified period of time. Now, up until last year, they had hired a company out of Fort Smith that would have to come all the way down here at great cost to them to dispose of the trash. By us adding this incinerator and getting the international certification, they no longer have to do that, and we do that for them, and we added a revenue source to the airport. Fortunately for this operation, we had a 767 that came in on a military charter, and they generated 450 pounds of international trash that needed to be disposed of. And I'm happy to report to you that that incinerator that we acquired ROI'd on that day. So from this point forward, we're in the positive and indeed in the black with that item. There's been much discussion about curbside check-in and curbside assistance. So at the direction of the Commission, the airport added curbside assistance to the passengers last year. As you know, Southwest is the only carrier that actually does curbside check-in, but the airport now provides assistance on the curb to all of the customers. And it has been very warmly received by the customers, and it's used quite a bit. We also added a new website last year. I call your attention to the box on the left-hand side. It's a full-featured website that enables you to now book your flight right on our website. I call your attention to the box on the top on the right on the round-trip airfares. We get that feed in automatically, so as you come to our website, you will see what the current deals are, and you have the ability to book that flight directly on our website. Now, let me just give you an idea of what this means to us. By redesigning how we do business, one of the things that we no longer do is we no longer produce the flight guides that we used to send out at about $45,000 a year. It cost us just under $30,000 to produce that site. You can now get all that from our site. So the site is in the black from the moment that we have done that. But in addition to that, we are generating revenue from the flights and other activity that's done on our website. So this is part of our remaking ourselves, where we had an opportunity to take something that was an expense and turn it into revenue. And we continue to look for other opportunities on how we can do that. At the same time that we launched our regular website, we also launched a mobile website that is specifically configured for the PDAs and the handheld devices that enables folks to get the exact information that they're looking for without having the entire site come up. Both were launched at about the same time. Again, part of our efforts of being green, we eliminated about 300 staff hours and quite a bit of cost in terms of paper by becoming completely automated with our committee meetings and commission meetings. All the information is distributed to our commissioners via electronic format, and when they come to the commission and committee meetings, the information is before them on their computers, and so we have saved staff time going back and forth, delivering the books, producing the books, and so forth. So that, too, has been a great savings to us, helped contribute to some of the decrease in cost at the airport. We're also happy to report that both in 2008 and 2009, the airport had the highest grossing restaurants in Little Rock. It's the first time that's occurred, and we repeated it in 2008, and we were able to repeat that performance in 2009. So what's next for the airport? The Commission has a 2020 vision plan, and but in order to get there, the Commission had to make some changes, and the airport had some changes, and that's a change in our paradigm. Number one, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Well, that's what we have done. We have reinvented ourselves as an organization, focused on expenses and revenues, and you've seen the results of that. The second best way to predict the future is to fund it, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later in the presentation in terms of the first phase of the terminal expansion, ultimately the full terminal. So at this point, I'd like to invite Chairman East up, and he will take you through the second phase of the presentation.